This session will last about 1 hour with the purpose of encouraging participants to successfully complete the application for individual dance makers. We will first provide guidelines for this webinar before moving into giving an overview of the Coronavirus Dance Relief Fund New York State Edition program. We'll review eligibility, evaluation criteria, selection priorities, and grant awards. We will go through application sections, review the program timeline, and show a brief demo of the application on Submittable. To finalize, we will field questions and answers that come in during the webinar. Again, please mute yourself if you're calling in. Dance NYC staff has muted all participants at the moment. Please do submit questions when they occur to you using the chat feature. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end during the Q&A session. When you submit questions, use the chat to everyone feature so that everyone else can see questions being generated to avoid duplication of questions. All questions are being captured. Please ask general questions, not specific ones, about you as an individual dance maker. Do not use the raise your hand feature. We have limited time and material to move through. Again, please make sure that you're muted. Thank you for your patience. And now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Milena, who will tell us more about this program and the application process.
Okay, thank you, Francis, and hello to everyone. Yes, I am Milena Luna. I'm from the grant making team at Dance NYC, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I identify as a Latina non-disabled woman of Colombian heritage. I'm wearing a white sweater, my hair is brown and it's pulled back, and I have gold hoop earrings. And behind me is a blurred white wall, and I am also currently on Lenape land. So let's get into the history of the fund. So the Coronavirus Dance Relief Fund, New York State Edition, is an extension of Dance NYC's Coronavirus Dance Relief Fund, which was created in 2020 to mitigate the growing impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on individual freelance dance workers and small budget organizations based in the Metro NYC area and New Jersey between March 2020 and August 2020. That fund was made possible by the generous support of a coalition of funders. That fund prioritized communities most impacted by COVID-19, including African, Latinx, Asian, Arab, and Native American folks, disabled, immigrant, and women identifying transgender, non-conforming, or non-binary dance workers, as well as those that were high at risk, including elderly, immunosuppressed dance workers. In total, the fund received applications from 1,798 freelance dance workers and 278 dance-making organizations or groups. Dance NYC was able to provide 1,082 awards to 734 unique freelance individuals and relief grants to 125 different organizations. Dance NYC was able to raise a total of $1,217,500 in funds for that iteration of the fund in 2020, and was able to award $1,500,000 across the grant period. So we are building off of that program that we were able to administer in 2020. So for this iteration of the Coronavirus Dance Relief Fund, it's actually made possible by the generous support of the New York State Council of the Arts. And its purpose is very similar, but it's to continue Dance NYC's existing efforts and to mitigate relief efforts and mitigate the growing impact of COVID-19 and the outbreak on individual dance makers, and small budget dance making organizations and groups that are based in New York State. So this part is important. Applications will also be open to New York City individual dance makers and organizations or groups, but the funding priority is for artists based in New York State counties outside of the 5 boroughs. So similar to the 2020 Coronavirus Dance Relief Fund, this fund is going to be dispersed through a 2-tier funding model. Today, we are only discussing Tier 1 individual dance makers. And the 2-tier funding model allows for the allocation of funds to be responsive to the unique needs of both groups. So of individual dance makers and of organization groups whose income is reliant primarily on in-person activities such as performances, classes, live events, and who often have less access to unemployment protection, savings, and or cash reserves, or even multiple sources of funding. So through this program, Dance NYC plans to distribute a total of $388,572 over the course of the grant period. $150,000 will go to 100 individual dance makers, and $238,572 will go to 45 to 60 dance making organizations or groups. With what goals? Dance NYC's goals with this program and with the fund are two. First, address the disproportionate access to relief support for dance making communities outside of the Metro NYC area. Second, to advance economic justice in the dance field by continuing to fill the gaps in the availability of resources where they're most needed. And finally, to attempt to alleviate some of the long-term and immediate impacts of systems of oppression as manifested through white supremacy and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So now let's review what the eligibility requirements for Tier 1. Let's focus on Tier 1 for individual dance makers. So applicants are eligible to apply if they are an individual dance maker. Now, what does that mean? That is, you are a dancer, dance performer, or choreographer. So Dance NYC recognizes that artists function in a multitude of ways within the framework of making dance and sustaining dance practices and beyond. But for the purpose of this fund, we ask that the primary focus be the dance making activity. Applicants are also eligible to apply if they reside in New York State and are also able to provide a tax identification number, a social security number, and employer identification number, or an individual taxpayer identification number. Applicants are also eligible if they've applied for fiscal year 22 NYSCA funding, but were not awarded. They're also eligible if they are fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22 re-grant awards grantees from NYSCA. So let's talk about who is not eligible for this program. So you're not eligible to apply if you are a freelance or contract worker or dance worker. And with that, that includes folks that are not dancers, dance performers, or choreographers, which means if you're a dance photographer or a dance videographer or a dance teaching artist, or related artistic or technical personnel such as technicians, lighting stage management, production, or etc. Or if you're a dance musician, accompanist, independent presenter, producer, agent, dance theater personnel like ushers and house vendors, etc., you're not eligible to apply. However, as mentioned in the previous slide, if you are a dance maker, if you perform, you're a dance performer, you're a choreographer, and you also are a dance photographer, please apply as a dance maker, not as a dance worker. You are also not eligible to apply if you are based outside of New York State. You're not eligible for this tier of funding if you're an organization, 501c3 or a group, fiscally sponsored group, and you're not eligible to apply if you are a NYSCA fiscal year 22 grantee. Just to note, the organization and groups application, you should be applying for tier 2, which is scheduled to open this Wednesday on April 6th, and we will be having a webinar next Monday. Also, I want to take the moment to note that interested applicants who are both eligible as individual dance makers and small budget dance making organizations or groups may apply for both areas of funding. So let's say you're a dance maker, choreographer within an organization, you can apply as an individual. And then if you're part of an organization, you can also, that group, that organization can apply. Okay, let's move on with the funding priorities for this program. So priority in grant selection will be given to applicants who first demonstrate the financial and personal impact of COVID-19 on their dance making activities. And this includes a decrease or change of income loss in relation to previous income years as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak or mandated cancellation of activities. And also the inability to access other forms of relief. You also have to be based, that another priority is that you are based in counting outside of the 5 boroughs of New York City. And I'll stop again and note, individuals headquartered residing in the Metro NYC area are welcome to apply, but our priority and the priority will be given to individuals that are based in counties outside of the 5 boroughs of NYC. Dance NYC's goal in focusing on specific geographic areas is to help increase activity in areas that are historically undersupported and which may have had less access to relief funding at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So additionally, priority will be given to individual dance makers that are members of communities disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, including but not limited to low income, Alana, disabled, immigrant, elderly, immunosuppressed, and women identifying artists, transgender, gender nonconforming, non-binary artists, artists that are parents, guardians, or primary care providers, and artists living in zip codes disproportionately affected by COVID-19 deaths and cases. Another funding priority is that we'd like to have a grantee pool that is a reflection of the demography of New York State and reflects a variety of dance making perspectives and genres. Dance NYC's aim in considering demographics as a selection criteria is to identify a grantee pool that represents New York State residents and addresses misalignments highlighted in Dance NYC's research, in particular, racial homogeneity in the dance workforce, a general absence of disabled artists, and a lack of income for immigrant artists. According to US Census data, the New York State population is approximately 44.7% Alana, 11.5% disabled, 51.4% female, and 22.4% immigrant. And the US Census disability figures include non-institutionalized populations, and according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the disabled population in New York State may actually be as high as 25% when all functional disability types, mobility, cognition, independent living, hearing, vision, and self-care disabilities are included. The New York State population's median age is 39, and the median income is $71,117. Just some statistics and background on our funding priorities. So let's move forward on what the grant awards are. So each individual dance maker selected as a grantee of Tier 1 funding will receive a relief support grant of $1,500. And Dance NYC plans to award approximately 100 individual dance makers, and this will total $150,000 in awards. Grantees will not be required to submit a report. The application will include all the information necessary to understand the grantee's use of funds. But grantees may be invited to submit a post-grant survey to help Dance NYC learn more about their experience and also the application process. So let's move forward with the application, reviewing what that entails. So first, how do you apply? You can find the link to the call for proposals on Dance NYC's website and also on submittable.com. If you don't already have a submittable account, you will need to create one in order to submit your application. Dance NYC estimates applicants may need approximately 2 to 3 hours to complete their application if they have the required information readily available. We have worked to make this application form simple and accessible to all. So let's go through each of the application sections. Before completing the application form, interested individual dance makers will be asked to first complete a series of questions to determine baseline eligibility, which is what we shared earlier. If eligible, applicants will be prompted to complete the application. And the application consists of 6 sections in which applicants will be asked to provide contact, banking, and demographic information, and also respond to questions related to how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted their artistic work, income, and personal life over time. All questions are required unless otherwise indicated. Questions with a red asterisk indicate that the question is required. Please pay careful attention to that. Incomplete applications will not be considered. Please remember that applicants may save draft content by scrolling to the bottom, and we'll review that during the application demo. So in the first 2 sections, applicant information and contact information, you'll be asked to provide basic information, name, email address. You'll be asked to provide the street address of your primary residence, which has to be in New York State. In this section, you will also be asked to input your New York State county. In the contact information section, you'll have the opportunity to inform us if there are any accessibility needs you might have during your participation in the application process and in our communications with you. For example, ASL interpretation, large print, or additional needs. Please note that whatever information you provide is just a question solely for logistical preparation, and it has no impact on your application eligibility or grant status. In the third section, the grant disbursement section, you'll have to provide your personal identification information. So your social security, your tax ID, or EIN number, and your banking information in order for us to process your award if selected. Dance NYC asks for this in order to submit award funds via direct deposit. We have selected this payment method to ensure grant awards are available as quickly as possible. If you're unable to receive funds via direct deposit, your payment will be processed via check, but please note that check payments may take additional time to process. In the fourth section, this contains a series of demographic questions. And Dance NYC's aim in considering, again, demographics, as mentioned, is to identify a grantee pool that represents New York State residents and addresses the misalignments highlighted by Dance NYC research. By providing demographic information, you'll help Dance NYC advance economic justice in the dance field by continuing to fill gaps in the availability of resources for dance makers who have limited access to financial resources. The information you share will be kept confidential to the full extent of the law. The identified data may be published to our website and may be used for future research for reporting purposes on the impact of this program and or other dance NYC research. And the data will be represented only in summary form, and your name will not be used in any report. Please note that while Dance NYC will keep your information confidential, there are some data security risks inherent in providing information via the internet. These questions are voluntary and provide an option for applicants to decline to state. In section 5, impact of COVID-19, this is actually the most important part of the application. We ask you to provide information about the financial and personal impact you have experienced as a result of COVID-19. We'd like for you to help us understand how the volume of your artistic work has changed as a result of COVID-19. And we understand that perhaps at this time in the pandemic, you may not be dealing with canceled contracts, but rather a reduction in contracts being available or offered at all, perhaps resulting in fewer new work opportunities. So in line with this, what we're interested is in understanding the overall changes to your dance making activities, regardless of whether the cause was cancellation, postponement, or general reduction in availability of work. So if possible, please specify the type of dance making activities that have changed since 2019. For example, changes in the development of new works, of your performance days, of rehearsal days, commissions, teaching engagements, speaking engagements, and our consulting engagements. And we ask you to include figures to help illustrate this change. You can use rounded figures instead of exact numbers if you don't have exact figures available. Please note that these details are not required, but if included, they will help panelists understand the impact of COVID-19 on the volume of your artistic work. In this section, we also want to understand the financial impacts you've individually experienced as a result of COVID-19. You'll have to complete a table to reflect your individual annual income, not your household income if they're different. Again, you can use rounded figures instead of exact numbers. We recognize that it may be difficult to anticipate your 2022 annual income, but please do your best to estimate using what you know and or expect of your work plans for the remainder of the year. Finally, in this section, we also ask about other COVID-19 pandemic relief funding you may have received. If you have received funding, we ask you to specify the funding that you have received or are expecting to receive. Also, because in the priority and grantee selection will be given to those that have not received any relief funding. To finalize this section, we ask that you share how COVID-19 has impacted you personally and how this fund can help you. We ask that you describe impacts you may have experienced as it relates to increased health needs or expenses, access to housing, access to food, the oversight of one or more dependents, no ability to earn income related to artistic practice, loss of income across non-dance related sources, increased accessibility expenses due to disability or being immunosuppressed, and or ineligibility for unemployment, other funds, or pandemic support. The final section of the application contains a series of optional questions with regards to your application process. And we also give you an opportunity to opt in to receive notifications via email and or text on Dance NYC's activities. The only required part of this section is the confirmation section, where you agree that by submitting your application, you affirm that the information provided is true and verifiable to the best of your ability. Again, please note that grantees will not be required to submit a report. The application will include all information necessary to understand the grantee's use of grant funds. Grantees, however, may be invited to submit a post-grant survey. Although the application is simple, and we've done a lot to make it that way, we do ask that you put your best effort into the narrative responses and telling a story so panelists can understand the impact of COVID-19 near dance making. So before moving forward with the application demo, let's review the program timeline. The Tier 1 individual dance maker application opens on March 30th and is scheduled to close on April 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Though I want to highlight this, emphasize that it may close sooner if the fund reaches 1,500 submissions. So try to get in your application as soon as possible. We already have over 150 submissions. Starting tomorrow, April 5th, Dance NYC will start hosting virtual technical assistance sessions through the application period. You can sign up today, and Francis will let you know more about that later. Applications will be vetted internally in April, and depending on the volume, this will extend to May. Eligible and complete applications will be sent to panelists for review, and grantees will be selected in the month of June. In June, grantees will be announced and awards will be dispersed. The complete timeline for this program is available on our website, and Tier 2 applications for dance making organizations and groups will open on this Wednesday, April 6th, and we will host a webinar next Monday at 11 a.m. And you can find those details on our website, and we will also share them at the end. So let's move forward with a demo of the application on Submittable. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So is that clear to everybody? Can everybody see that? Yes. Okay. So you will notice here that this is the landing page, and you will be asked to either create an account, or if you have one, you will have to sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And if you have a Facebook or a Google account, you can sign in with Google. If not, you can create a new account. And I will be signing in with my Dance NYC Gmail account. All right, and then you will be, if you're using that link that we provided, you will be directed to this page, which has the complete application. There's an overview, a quick overview of what the program is and what the awards are. And then there's a section with instructions, which includes deadlines, includes that this may take 2 to 3 hours, and everything that I stated in terms of saving, that you can save your drafts, and also to make sure that your application is complete before submitting. We've also included a list of resources here, and we'll also be sharing these in the chat later. So as mentioned, the first section is the section where you will have to determine eligibility and confirm that you are indeed eligible for this grant program. So if you identify as an individual dance maker, yes. Is your primary residence in New York State? Yes. You can find the different counties outside of the 5 boroughs listed here. Are you able to provide an individual taxpayer identification number? Yes. So if you answer yes to all of these, you will be able to proceed to section 1 of the application. If you answer no to any of these, you will receive a notification that states that you are not eligible to apply for the grant. And if you feel like that message is an error, you can contact us at covid19@dance.nyc. All right, so we know that we are individual dance makers, that we reside in New York State, and we have individual taxpayer information. So as mentioned, we have basic information here, applicant information, your name, again, now how you identify as an individual dance maker, and you can select all that apply. You'll be asked to include your residential address. Please note that PO boxes are not accepted and that the primary residence must be in New York State. Be asked to confirm your county. And if you don't know what your county is, you can click this link and it will help you find that. So moving on to section 2, contact information. It's just an email address, your phone number, and what is your preferred communication method. If we need to contact you in any way, you can select all that apply. If you do select text, we ask you to confirm that you're giving Dance NYC permission to text you at the number provided with respect to your application. And as mentioned, in this section, we ask you to let us know about any accessibility needs you may have. So moving on to section 3, grant disbursement. Here's where you'll be entering your bank account and routing numbers. So if you're able to provide a bank account and routing number, you click yes, and then you will be prompted to enter your full legal name, your identification information, your date of birth, the name of your banking institution, your routing number, you will have an account number, and you will have to confirm these again. And at the end, we have extra confirmation where you have to click that you have reviewed the payment details that you've submitted, and that you confirm that your name, your personal identification information, and banking details submitted for grant disbursement are your own and are correct. So moving back up, if you click on no, it says you indicated that you cannot provide banking information. So before proceeding, we will want you to confirm if your mailing address is different from your residential address. You know, let's say your residential address is in New York State, but you are temporarily living in New Jersey. That's fine. So we just want to make sure that if you are not providing your bank account and routing number, that we are sending the check to the right place. So if you click yes, you don't have to enter anything. We'll use the information you've already provided. If you click no, you will be asked to enter, there's something wrong here, but it should work that way. Well, you will be asked to enter your your mailing address. Okay, so moving on to section 4, the demographic questions. Again, we went over this. These questions are important to us for our research and to advance economic justice in the dance field. But they are voluntary, and we provide an option for applicants to decline to state. And these are the different demographic questions. So ask about disability, about ethnicity and race. If it's not listed, you can click not listed and enter and specify. Ask about gender identity. Again, there's a not listed option. Sexual identity. You can also click on not listed here. And we ask you for your year of birth, the country you were born, and what your household income is. So section 5, which as mentioned is the most important part of the application. And in this space, the suggested word count for this narrative question is 300 to 500 words, where we want you to help us understand how the volume of your artistic work has changed as a result of COVID-19. Same goes for the next question, although these will be figures that you enter here. And you can just enter them simply this way. These are to help us understand the financial impacts. You will have to complete the chart. It is required. So please make sure that you complete all of the sections. Here we ask for details of the nature of your non-artistic related work. Not applicable, you can enter not applicable. We ask if you've asked any COVID-19 pandemic relief as stated, and then what the impacts for you personally as a result of COVID-19 are. And final section is this optional section that I mentioned, where we ask you to provide some feedback. And here you can also opt in to our mailing list or text list to stay connected with Dance NYC. Before you end, you will have to confirm that everything that you've submitted here, all the information provided in this application is true and verifiable to the best of your ability. And here you can save your drafts, and when you are done, you can hit submit. What we recommend is that you save your responses on a Google Doc or a Word document or a notes document, and then enter them here. Okay, so that is the demo portion of the application. And we are going to now open it up to any questions that you may have in the remaining time. So I see that Jan Hanvik sent over a question. The application asks for effects of COVID on individual, not household income, but she just reviewed the question asking for household income. Can you explain the difference? So for some, it is household income. It all depends, right? Like where you are or who you live with, because for some, household income is your individual. It's only you, right? So therefore, if in your household income it is you and another, we want your individual income. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Let's see. You can give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, so we have another question. If someone is an individual dance maker, but also works at a small dance organization, can they apply for both tier 1 for themselves and tier 2 for the organization? Yes, so you can apply as a dancer, choreographer, dance performer. And then the organization itself can apply as a dance making organization. And then again, the primary activity must be dance making. Okay, so we have a question from Karen. Under eligibility, that a dance teaching artist may not be eligible. Yes, if you are a dance maker in terms of like you are a dancer, choreographer, dance performer that also teaches, you are welcome to apply, because we understand that dancers have multiple roles as dance workers, but you may not apply as a teaching artist. So you have to demonstrate in the impact of COVID-19 how your dance making activities have been affected, not your dance teaching activities. Is that clear? So do we have any other questions or clarifications? Okay, it seems that there are no more questions coming in. So yes, Francis, please share more of the information or different resources that folks can access.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So I just wanna walk us through our Get Help page, which includes the following resources: the application guide, the frequently asked question documents, the technical assistance, which you can sign up for today. And eventually at the end of this week, this webinar recording will also be there. So let me get out of here. This is what it looks like once you entered our website, Dance NYC. You can go up here to COVID-19 Relief Fund, Get Help. You click and it will take you to this page. And here you will find the menu, which we have already shared earlier with the overview, both tiers information, and then you can find the application guide linked, the webinar, the application assistance sessions to sign up for. And then at the bottom, you will find the frequently asked questions and our email in case you didn't catch it today. And that's pretty much it. Milena also posted on the chat. So that's all we wanted to share with you all today. And let me see. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. Remember that you can email us if you have any further questions after today. Continue to check the Get Help page and good luck applying.
Yes, and thank you to our ASL interpreters, SignNexus, and thank you, Viscardi, also for being here with us. And everyone, thank you for joining. You have a wonderful afternoon and reach out to us if you require any support.